Now, Donald Trump is weighing his options on Iran, and Israel, interestingly, is central to this equation. Behind closed doors, military scenarios are being played out. Publicly, the rhetoric is clearly hardening, and in this critical juncture, the United States and Iran are meeting again in Geneva, where the talks have paused, but they are expected to resume pretty soon.
Aircraft are in position. Second American aircraft carrier is in strike position. The targets are mapped. What remains is the decision. According to reports, President Donald Trump has discussed the possibility of Israel taking the lead in a potential strike on Iran. The logic is strategic. An Israeli first move would reshape the battlefield instantly, drawing in regional dynamics before Washington throws its full weight. The plan is simple. Israel will lead the attack, the Iranians would retaliate, and then the overpowering American firepower comes into play. Trump accused Iran of pursuing nuclear ambitions, though Tehran insists its program is for civilian purposes.
The US said that Iran should declare that we will not have nuclear weapons. Well, the Supreme Leader has already said that we will not have nuclear weapons at all.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio claims Tehran trying to build intercontinental ballistic missiles which are designed solely to strike America.
They're trying to achieve intercontinental ballistic missiles. For example, you've seen them try to launch satellites into space. You've seen them increasing the range of the missiles they have now. And clearly they are headed in a pathway to one day being able to develop weapons that could reach the continental U.S.
The US and Iranian delegations are meeting at the Omani ambassador's residence in Geneva. UN nuclear chief Rafael Grossi is also part of the discussions. For Israel, the stakes are existential. For Iran, sovereignty and regime survival are paramount. For Washington, credibility is on the line. The military options carries immense risks. Iranian retaliation could target Israeli cities, US bases and maritime routes. Regional escalation would be swift. Oil markets would react instantly. Yet, the diplomatic track is fragile. Trust is minimal, demands are maximal. Trump's calculation now rests on timing and leverage. Push harder to extract concessions, or greenlight a strike that could redraw the region overnight. Threats are escalating, war plans are ready, but the final order has not been given. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
This, of course, is what is happening at this moment, where, remember, the talks between Iran and the American representatives have reportedly paused. The two sides are reportedly referring back to their respective capitals on what has been discussed so far, and the talks are expected to resume again at about 1700 hours GMT. It'll be very interesting to see as to what is actually playing out in these talks. Remember, the Americans have been pushing forth with their pretty maximalist demands, where they want the Iranians to give up their nuclear program entirely. The Americans also want the Iranians to give up their ballistic missiles. But for Iran, this is a clear red line. Iran has said that its ballistic missile program is completely defensive in nature. And the reason why the ballistic missiles exist for the Iranians is because they want to defend their country, and therefore they are not going to give up their ballistic missiles. And the Iranians have said that they are willing to come down to the enrichment percentage of uranium as existed during the JCPOA, a deal which Donald Trump had walked out of unilaterally, describing it as the worst negotiated deal in American history. So very interesting dynamics being played out there. The Americans are ready with their massive naval armada, and it now remains to be seen as to what these talks can deliver. And our correspondent Ross Cullen is joining us from Paris. Ross, at this moment it is being reported that the talks have been paused because the two sides want to refer back to their respective capitals on what they can negotiate further. What's playing out at this moment in the place where the talks are being conducted? What are you picking up at your end?
Well, these are certainly what seems to be last-ditch negotiations by Tehran and Washington to try to come to a nuclear deal. There are issues on both sides. The Iranians described it as practical and very important, some of the discussions that were held in the Swiss city on Thursday morning, but there are issues where they do diverge. So, for example, Iran wants these discussions simply to be about the nuclear file, and that's it. But Israel is trying to pressure the US to force Iran to also discuss about possible limits on missiles. Iran does not want to discuss that, the US does, and so there are issues there about what will be in the framework of any deal that is agreed. Will it simply be about nuclear, or will it also be including restrictions, for example, on ballistic missiles? Iran says it wants to develop nuclear power simply for civil energy needs. The US president did say that he hadn't heard Iran say out loud and commit to foregoing building a bomb. But that's exactly what Iran has said on numerous occasions now, and we heard it again from the Iranian president, the Iranian foreign minister, saying they do not want to build a nuclear weapon. They do want to develop civil nuclear energy for their own domestic use. We know there is also a military pressure campaign by the United States. The USS Abraham Lincoln, the aircraft carrier, is in the Gulf. The USS Gerald R. Ford, another aircraft carrier, is in the eastern Mediterranean, and there's also been a huge build-up in the number of combat jets that have been deployed by the United States around the region as well, not ruling out the possibility of a military strike on Iran, possibly a joint strike with Israel. But at the moment, we know that the president's position is that he does want diplomacy ideally to be the top priority. Those discussions have paused, and they are likely to restart later on this evening.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Ross Cullen, for joining us with all those details there.